Hero in Our Eyes, Magareta Waldman, by Aaron Bresnahan and Alexis Wildman. On the date of May 7, 1921, a baby girl was born into the world, and her parents gave her the name of Magareta Herman. At the time she first opened her eyes, nobody would have guessed that in 23 years' time she would be shipped off to Auschwitz, Poland, to spend the next 14 months in a constant state of fearing for her life in a German Nazi extermination camp.
A man named Adolf Hitler launched the Second World War on September 1st, 1939, as a distraction to the rest of the world from what he was truly planning. His plan? To create an Aryan race, a pure race that consisted of only people who had blonde hair and blue eyes, were straight, smart, Christian, and fit. At this time, the Nazis began the mass murder of Jews and undesirables in Europe. These unfortunate people were either killed on the spot in shooting lines at the edges of mass graves, or deported to concentration camps, often dying of disease and starvation. One of the most well-known of these camps is Auschwitz. It is there that our story begins.
At the age of 23, Magareta Waldman, then known as Magareta Herman, was taken by train from her home in Czechoslovakia to the Auschwitz concentration and extermination camp in Poland. After unloading the trains, which were actually meant for cattle, the many Jews on board were casually waved to the left line or the right by a SS Nazi officer. One way led to the gas chambers, showers, and the other way led to the labor camps. The luckier ones were then assigned to a living quarter and often forced to do penal labor.
Conditions in camps were awful. Quote, "The conditions were very bad. No food and no cloth. My mother used to tell of how they slept on wooden beds and shivered," wrote Elke Benheim, Margareta's daughter. The roofs in the barracks leaked in dampness and straw beds, which were often fouled because of prisoners with diarrhea. Bedbugs, lice, and rats spread disease throughout the block, and there were little to no sanitary conditions. Prisoners could only use the restrooms for 10 seconds in the morning and the evening, accompanied by an SS guard. The outhouses consisted of more than 60 toilets lined up in rows, back to back in a stone building. Anyone who had an accident in the sleeping quarters was shot.
Though Magareta would not often speak of her time in the camp,
it was something that she found very difficult to discuss.
Never. She never wanted to speak about it.
we can piece together her experience using the accounts of others. Every morning, before the sun rose, she would wake up, make her bed, and stand in a line with other prisoners in the cold for the daily roll call. She would have to stand there for up to 4 hours, for absolutely no reason other than the misconduct of one prisoner. Sometimes, weaker hostages would collapse and die in the lines. Next was breakfast, which consisted of a measly 10 ounces of bread with an ounce of margarine, and flavorless coffee with no sugar. Prisoners were dangerously malnourished.
After breakfast, she would go to another roll call and be checked for any valuable possessions. Magareta would work relentlessly in the mines for 11 to 12 hours. Once in the mines, Magareta had an accident, and a piece of iron was thrust deeply into her palm. She knew that the Nazis would kill her, so she had to self-doctor it. The iron remained in her hand till the day she died. Then on to lunch, with only soup made of water and a few carrots. Dinner was bread with rotten salami or jam. Magareta and her roommates had to sleep 10 per bed, lying on top of their possessions so no other inmates would steal them.
They had brought women down from the northern part of Germany that had been in the camps right from the beginning. And she said that they treated them very disrespectfully because they felt that they had suffered a lot more than these women who were just going into the camp now.
The prisoners were also looked after by Kapo. Kapo were prisoners who the Nazis trusted and had been at the labor camp since the beginning. The Kapo were often crueler to the prisoners than the actual SS guards, because they felt they had suffered more than the prisoners just coming into the camp. Kapos were assigned prisoners, of whom they watched over. Hostages who gave the guards trouble were assigned their own personal Kapo. Kapo were distinguished by the armbands they wore. Magareta was assigned a capo, and she did not have fond memories of her.
Magareta Waldman is a hero because even though she lived through such a traumatic experience and came out mentally scarred, she lived on to build a family with her husband Joseph Waldman. Magareta is an example of someone who faced horrible adversity and oppression and lived to tell the tale. Many of us can learn from Magareta's story and realize there's a lot of adversity in this world, but we can overcome it if we spread the word.